Hello and welcome to Travel Weekly's latest webcast. Today I'm joined by Matthew Valentine, UK Country Manager at new Norwegian cruise line Havila Voyages. Prior to joining Havila last year, he spent nearly 10 years at Hurtigruten, so he knows what he's talking about when it comes to coastal cruising in Norway. Havila took delivery of its first ship in November. The line is scheduled to launch its second ship in January and plans to launch 2 more vessels next summer. Matthew, thank you for taking the time to come on today. What's it been like at Havila since joining over 20 months ago?
Obviously, it's not been kind of quite how I expected it to be starting, to launch obviously a new product to the world when the world's not necessarily been entirely ready for it. But it's getting exciting now that we've kind of got our first ship sitting in Bergen waiting to start, and all become very real after kind of being delayed somewhat due to the world and how it's been.
Yeah, exactly, of course. So by the end of next year, you're likely to have 4 ships in operation. Where will they operate?
Yeah, so when we're kind of fully up and running, there'll be 4 ships operating from Bergen on the coast of Norway up to Kirkenes and back again. So that's over a kind of a 12-day scheduled voyage. So that's they're working ships, so they're still providing kind of transport for the locals getting from port to port, and for kind of freight to the small communities in the north of Norway. But obviously the main business is, of course, tourism, and of course in the UK the focus of lots of that is kind of Northern Lights tourism. So people traveling on board our ships, getting kind of the best way to see the Northern Lights, in the kind of the high Arctic, as it were.
How do you envisage the breakdown of passengers between the sort of the commuter passengers and the tourists?
It is very much in favour of the tourists. We are required to keep kind of capacity aside for the local travellers, as our agreement with the Norwegian government. And that is, we're required to keep at a certain scale 120 berths. So with the ship having, capacity, an operating capacity liable between 400 and 450 berths. As you can see, it's even if we were to kind of have quite a lot of travellers from the local market, it's still a smaller proportion of the business overall. It's a high-end volume of numbers of passengers, but in terms of kind of cruise nights, it's obviously a smaller measure.
Brilliant. I completely understand that. So how come the decision was taken to grow the fleet so swiftly? Or is that just the sort of deal that was put in place with the shipyard?
This is the deal that's it's how it's basically administered from the Norwegian government. We essentially tendered for 4 of the departures that are done as part of the scheduled service, and obviously we would have delivered all 4 ships at the start of this year had all been normal in the world, but they're now a little bit staggered because obviously for various reasons that have been somewhat outside of our control. So it's really about, but certainly by the kind of Q3 next year, we will have 4 ships operating. So essentially that's one every kind of 2-3 days from Bergen, and then that's kind of obviously a full service with a bit more capacity and more opportunity to obviously sell against. So we're looking forward to the season, for the winter season 22-23 to be where we really get going, when we've got full capacity and there's obviously a full opportunity for everyone to sell against as well.
Brilliant. So operating the ships in a green and sustainable manner is vitally important to Havila. Can you just outline how the line is so environmentally friendly, and what the green features are?
Yeah, there was certain requirements under the kind of the government tender, but we're obviously taking those as the base, where we're kind of as the minimum requirements. So as we've purpose built 4 new battery and LNG, so that's liquefied natural gas ships, we are reducing the CO2 emissions by a minimum of 25%, just with the LNG. Combined with the battery packs, that gives us a greater saving. It reduces the particulate pollution because of the using gas as opposed to other fuels, and also reduces the NOx and the SOx, the nitrogen and the sulfur pollution somewhat, well, by almost 100%, well over 90% anyway. So that's very important that we are, reducing the pollutants as we go along, but also when we're in port, we're either using the batteries or we're using shore power. And that means that we're not having to run the engines when we're in port, and therefore, not producing emissions in the locality of the, within the fjord or so on, wherever the port may be. And that shore power will also then charge the batteries where possible, and allow us in certain areas where it will be required in the future to operate emission free. We can run over 4 hours full speed on the batteries, and therefore meet those requirements as well. So, and when you're using that shore power, that's coming from kind of the main electricity in Norway, which is over 95% produced by hydroelectricity. So therefore, it's essentially zero carbon when you're taking power from when you're plugging in, as it were. And it's worth doing so if you're in a port for probably more than kind of 25 minutes, half an hour, because of the process and essentially getting the big plug out and so on is kind of obviously not worthwhile if you're just there for kind of a 15-minute stop, which we would sometimes be when we're just taking on kind of foot passengers and so on.
Brilliant. And the world's largest battery packs, they enable the ships to sail for 4 hours without burning any fuel. Is that right?
Yeah. So in the UNESCO World Heritage Fjord, the Granger Fjord, there will be a requirement coming in 2026, but we're obviously ready now to meet that, to sail emission free. So therefore, currently you obviously have a lot of ships going in there that won't be able to go in the future, but we will be able to go in there in the summer, running purely off the batteries, and therefore able to meet those requirements. And it's likely that other places on the coast of Norway will have these stricter requirements to run emission free there, and that's a real local issue because you've got the mountains surrounding the fjord. So if you are producing pollution there, it kind of stays there essentially, and that's obviously not good for the local communities. It's not what the Norwegian government wants to encourage. So we're able to obviously meet those requirements by having these large battery packs, allowing us to sail for extended periods of time emission free.
Brilliant. So, and the line's food offering is also a key feature of the onboard experience. Is that right, Matthew?
Yes, the kind of executive chef that's been working with us to develop the food program. We've been very much aligned that on the saying that food should be half the reason you travel. And that's really core to kind of what we've called as the Havila food stories, about how we are serving food, what the origins of the food are, and and that is of course very Norwegian cuisine. But we will have, and this was kind of predating kind of some things that have been happening related to kind of COVID and so on. We will have no buffets. There will be a menu choice for all meals. So you won't have any just kind of set menus. You'll always have a choice. So basically how the menu works in the main restaurant is there will be a selection of say main courses that will rotate as you travel up and down the coast of Norway to reflect the kind of ingredients and the cuisine of that part of the coast. So you have a constantly changing menu.
Almost daily, or
well, it's about 3 days, 4 days.
Change.
You'll be rotating, but there's more than 3 or 4 dishes on the menu, so you're obviously able to have different things every day. And we also have kind of a special dishes that we've kind of labelled under our Havila Gold scheme, which allows you to kind of have kind of micro upgrades to have particular kind of special courses added or special kind of ingredients upgraded and so on. So the food with the degree of choice and therefore service to table is very important to give a kind of a higher level of service that's traditionally been available on the coast of Norway, and therefore we will have kind of chefs plating up and finishing preparations kind of in preparation areas within the dining room, and then you being served to table subject to obviously your order.
Brilliant.
And on top of that we have a fine dining restaurant if you're wanting kind of if you have a special occasion or wanting a particular
high level of
upgrade, and therefore in the fine dining restaurant there's obviously a little bit more intimate, but 30 seats, kind of obviously more kind of very attentive service, bit of a better wine list, and there we'll be serving kind of a seasonal 5-course tasting menu is how we're starting out, therefore kind of offering something that's really kind of the best of the best when it comes to the ingredients found on the coast of Norway.
So with all this in the mix, there's the sustainability push, the food offering, and the fine dining option. What kind of passengers do you think Havila will appeal to in the UK, of course?
Well, I think as in the UK, the kind of product that we've got, I would still think we're kind of obviously representing a pretty good, value offering when it comes to the quality of the food and the accommodation and so on board. So it's, I would say it's generally probably an older customer in terms of 55 plus. Because of the nature of the product, but with lots of excursions available also from the ship, it's kind of it allows you to tailor the experience very much to what the customer wants. If you're a very active customer, then you kind of obviously participate in snowmobiling and the active excursions, but other passengers that maybe want a bit more to relax and watch the scenery go by are perfectly able to do that. So through the experiences, both kind of on land and on the ship, there is a degree of tailoring to kind of give it quite a broad appeal to different customers. As I say, in the UK, traditionally there's been a seasonal bias towards Northern Lights passengers. So it's very much also those people looking for kind of who might be a bit more active because they want to do winter activities and so on as well. But it's not just about kind of, it's about, I'd say, activity as opposed to age. You can be 80 but still want to go snowmobiling and still want to do a hike. And that's very much, I would say it's a mixture between people who've maybe wanting for something different from cruise, as well as people that might traditionally have done a escorted tour with a land-based tour operator, where they can still get an experience where they're very much looked after with an array of activities and seeing a whole destination kind of in one voyage, as it were. So there's a kind of a quite a different number of kind of passengers that we appeal to.
Exactly. Yeah. Very exciting. So you've outlined the route the ships will take. Are there plans in the pipeline to maybe expand to further south in the world, maybe?
Not a current. We've kind of we've obviously it's been a little bit of a challenge in these days to get everything up and running on the coast of Norway. So we'll get all of those ships running first before we think about anything else, I think.
I don't know if you'll be able to share this kind of information, but are you able to tell us how many UK passengers you're targeting in your sort of first year of operations?
Well, it's a difficult one because we are just starting out. I would expect there to be obviously quite a number of thousand of British passengers going forward. But you know, at the moment we are very much selling through kind of specialist tour operators in the UK, and kind of expanding out from there, because we don't currently have our own atoll license, and so aren't packaging ourselves. And of course, especially in this day and age, people appreciate obviously a packaged product, and that so we are, you know, we're supporting those operators very much at the moment, because that's what we see is the best for the customer. And that will obviously, you know, be probably the case for the next kind of couple of years as we grow into the market.
Before sort of winter 23, maybe, when you think you're going to sort of be at full tilt?
I would say, well, I hope so, but then I have to deliver the numbers, don't I? So
yeah.
I don't want to overpromise.
Brilliant. What are the current entry requirements, you know, for Brits traveling to Norway?
So for Norway, I've been myself there a couple of times in the last month or so, and all you have to do currently is provide evidence of a vaccination, or I believe testing as well. And that's, of course, you complete. You know, you just show your, you know, your vaccine pass at check-in. Currently, I've seen that I don't think you can kind of your flights check in online, because they want to check your documentation, but that's all been relatively straightforward. And then it's just, of course, observing the local rules in Norway, which are currently quite relaxed. But of course, it's always a movable feast in these days, isn't it?
Yeah, particularly with this Omicron variant that seems to be taking hold and across the world. You know, just as you're launching your first ship in a week or two, is that right? I mean, what concerned are you about the variant, the emergence of this variant?
I'm not overly concerned, because I think well, a lot of the actions taken internationally by the governments have been very much on a precautionary basis. And well, because they don't understand what's you know, what the consequences are. I think that will probably it will fall into the background like the other variants, because it's hopefully not, even if it spreads more, it's maybe not as virulent in its impact. And I think there might be a couple of weeks of rules changing, and then it will probably revert to kind of pretty much how it was. Of course, the impact from a UK point of view is you now have to take a 2-day PCR test and then isolate yourself until you get the result. So of course that could mean that if you do that on your day of return, you are having to self-isolate for a couple of days until your provider comes back with the negative result. But I think for a lot of people who are either working from home or, you know, maybe are retired, then that's not really going to necessarily impact on their travel plans, because they can take, you know, they don't need to, you know, they can deal with the kind of couple of days of having to self-isolate. So I'm not sure for a lot of people whose plans that will change them. So as long as it kind of stays as it is, I think it probably kind of carry on as before.
Okay. You've already outlined how you'll be selling through specialist tour operators in the UK. If you're an agent in the UK and you want to sell Havila, like what's the best course of action for them?
The best course of action is just to email me or phone me up or what have you, and I will. You know, we are kind of very open to contracting with all types of agents and tour operators, and you know, if you're interested in doing business with us, we're interested in doing business with you, is the best way to put it. So we are, as I say, a trade-focused organization in terms of, and we will be kind of seeing that as being the way, because we are a relatively small company, and therefore will not have huge marketing funds to be kind of becoming a very, you know, doing lots of expensive brand building, advertising, and so on. And so we will very much be reliant upon, you know, the trades kind of expertise and their customers. So that's how we see as the kind of the best way to work as a kind of a smaller, lesser known company, as it were.
Do they have to have commercial terms agreed with you before selling Havila?
Yeah. But it's that can be done very quickly.
Okay, good. And
We
I've seen.
have a standard contract. So sorry, I was just going to say we have a standard contract. So it's all kind of very straightforward.
Excellent. Right, and also I've seen that you're planning to set up an agent portal. Or what stage are we at with that?
We have a kind of a provisional portal with a general information, image library, and so on. That's kind of in a development stage, but it's accessible and open now. Our B2B booking portal is now fully up and running. And very intuitive, very easy to use. So as soon as someone's contracted, they get emailed the access to that. And although we've got a kind of a small call center in Oslo that's English speaking, and they can book through that and get help from them, it's very simple and straightforward to book on our portal. They can hold options through there. They can add excursions, transfers, hotel nights, and so on. And it's as I say, it's kind of very intuitive. So one of the simplest solutions I've seen in that sense. And I would say that nearly all of our bookings from an agent side are done to that. Very few need to phone up the call center or what have you.
Excellent. And any plans to expand your team, because you're currently operating alone, aren't you, in the UK?
Yes, there is a hope that we'll expand the team out in terms of marketing and sales support. We're expanding our team in the head office. Our marketing team's expanding by a few heads that will support the UK operation at the head office. But of course, in due course, we will have more sales resources as well. It's obviously, I was when I first started with the company, I was at this phase of looking for officers and thinking about recruiting. And of course, with COVID, that changed somewhat. So we will, once the bookings are flowing, then obviously it's easier for me to justify adding heads in, and certainly we will need to do so once we get in a bit more volume.
Excellent. And so it sounds like it's all ticking along nicely. Will agents have the opportunity next year to see your first ship, Havila Capella, firsthand?
Yes, well, and indeed, Castor when it launches, and the others after that. We will be organising fam trips. We'll probably kind of run some kind of broader kind of competitions and other things as well for agents to get on board. But certainly for kind of anyone that's kind of put that partners with us, we're intending to do a couple of probably larger group fam trips and make opportunities for people to, of course, travel on their own if they're unable to make those. I think those, because of course traditionally, of course, it's been kind of blackout for fam trips at the start of Q1, with the traditional booking wave. But as soon as that eases off, we will be looking to get people on board by March, and certainly in April we will should have kind of the opportunity to do a kind of a couple of big fam trips and get as many people as possible to see the product. That's one of our aims.
Brilliant. And you just touched on it there. I mean, we have got Wave coming up. I don't think it's going to be a conventional, traditional performing Wave. But you have expanded your marketing team in the head office. So are there plans afoot just to, in your first Wave as an operating cruise line to hit Wave, strongly?
Well, for me, it's about brand building, really. It's about getting our name known among the trade. So that's the kind of the focus of our initial activities, rather than a kind of more of a direct sales push to the customer at Wave, because we're not quite there yet in terms of in terms of obviously our brand awareness and our kind of market penetration. So what I'm personally focused on is obviously securing opportunities within the tour operators and the travel agencies out there, looking forward, because of course with only one ship at the start, we're pretty full, to be honest. So it's not we're not looking at a short-term strategy. We haven't got too much capacity even over coming to the summer to fill. It's more looking forward to when we do have all four ships. Then we have the full capacity, and that's when it's kind of the bigger opportunities for everyone.
Oh, okay. How far ahead? How well booked are you? Beyond Q3 when you've got ships operating. You say there are opportunities available, but
I would say, well, we're really well because obviously the limited capacity, because as the kind of ships are coming in, we're reasonably well booked through to kind of March, February. So Q1's pretty busy. The summer on Capella and Castor is quite well booked, and the second two ships, ships 3 and 4, are moderately well booked. But we've obviously, like a lot of companies.
Sorry, Matthew, have they been named as well? Those
yes, as Polaris and Pollux.
Okay.
So they will be obviously, like a lot of companies, we've had a fair amount of rebookings. Of course, we've had groups move from, we were obviously originally supposed to be on sale this year, and so there's a high degree of capacity being taken up by those groups that have moved forward from kind of various markets all around the world, from Australia and from Germany, from the US as well. So and that begins to, once we get into Q3, there's a bit more capacity available, and from there, obviously, it's we haven't really entered the sales period for Q4 yet, so there's kind of lots of capacity available then, and that's really kind of, obviously, as I say, that's when we have the 4 ships in operation, and that's kind of will be our the kind of big focus for us as we come into the start of 2022. And of course, when you get then Northern Lights activity happening, when you get pictures in the papers, of course, we'll start to think about it also for the next season. And it's kind of, so that's when you naturally begin to look forward to the next season from a booking period time anyway.
Okay, so sort of 12 months out with the Northern Lights. So
that's when you start. Yeah.
Okay, really interesting. Can you tell us about the onboard experience and the cabin grades? Like, how many cabin grades are available to passengers to book?
We have obviously, it's kind of a modern Norwegian design, so there's lots of kind of Norwegian designer furniture on board. The owners have been keen. They're keen to support the economy of Norway and local jobs. So even much of our furniture is locally sourced, as it were, not just our food. So it's the cabin zones. We have just reviewed the cabin grades now that we've actually seen the ship in reality, to kind of better highlight the cabins. We've got quite a lot of accessible cabins, both interior and sea view superior accessible cabins. So it's very good for people with mobility issues. But our largest cabin grade is the sea view superior in terms of number of cabins. That's the kind of, got over 100 of those. And that's very much a very comfortable experience. The cabins are larger than the cabins that have been traditionally available on the coast of Norway. They're 15 square meters. We have both doubles and twins available with a very comfortable, spacious cabin to be in. Then we also have 16 cabins, suites with balconies, including the 2 what we call lighthouse suites, because they're named after various lighthouses on the coast of Norway. That are the large 45 square meter suites with private jacuzzi on your private balcony. So there is a range of cabins for available budget and taste, but we're really kind of happy that we're able to offer brand new cabins on a brand new ship that really with plenty of space to have a comfortable voyage over your 12-day trip.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Matthew. I really appreciate it. And best of luck with the launch in a couple of weeks' time, just under 2 weeks. And yeah, we'll be rooting for you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.